Welcome back, and this is still Spotlight with Mercy on Kaftan Television here in Abuja. Well, in a bid to get it right in our electoral system, because election, of course, is the process where people are given to exercise their right and decide who they want to be governed by. And discussing electoral reforms this evening, joining me in the studio is Fasil Sanusi Ibrahim, who is a social justice critic. It's good to have you. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Well, my pleasure. Well, let's begin with the topic right away. And also a reminder that our phone lines are still open for you to call in to give in your contribution. Well, what has electoral system become in our country? You know, we've seen recent elections and even the past elections. And looking at what has played out in the recent elections, what do you make out of our electoral system?
Well, you know, that's a very, very amazing question. And I would say there are a whole lot of reforms that is supposed to be made and done in the Nigerian electoral systems. The 2023 elections came in with a lot of irregularities. And I blame it on INEC because, first and foremost, they assured Nigeria that the bimodal voter accreditation system is going to be put into use, which I saw that as something very, very welcoming. And it's going to enhance the electoral system and it's going to promote credibility, and, you know, it's going to make every other process quick. But at the end of the day, even using the beavers, a lot of obstacles were met, and a lot of electoral irregularities were recorded. So I'm not going to say that the 2023 election is completely perfect. A lot of things need to be changed and addressed. Yes.
Okay. So, but then, what did you make out of the 2023 general election? Do you think it was a free and fair one?
Well, you know, in some part of the country, I would say the elections were free and fair. In some part of the country in which we all know the election wasn't free and fair. And we know where these irregularities actually happened. And we know what is actually happening underneath. So I'm not going to say the electoral process or what happened in 2023 was completely shambolic. No, give it to INEC. They tried. Some of the people that were on the ballots, they actually got the votes. And, you know, they won, you know, credibly, they won. Some people found their ways, and we all know most of these people didn't win, but the independent electoral commission said they won. So, and they are the final say. You and I are just voters. We are citizens of the country. And at the end of the day, it's INEC that has the final say. So automatically, the election was not 100% credible, free and fair.
Okay, well, now let's move down to, you know, state levels. We've seen what happened. We saw what happened in Edo State. We saw what happened, even the local government chairman, the one that took place in Benue and some other part of. Now, it's not about INEC, because INEC does not conduct election in the state level. Away from federal level, these things are still repeated or are still repeating in the state level. That is to say, even we can't even say hold the federal and the states. We can't hold them accountable. Are you worried about that? I
am very worried, and I've aired my concerns severally, because the state governors and the state as a whole, they are not conducting free and fair elections. It's more like if you are the best candidate. I said something. When you say independent electoral commission, independent, it is not independent. It is still dependent on some factors and some people. In a state, some states had their recent elections, and that one party won the chairmanship election, one party won all the councillorship and any other office. How is that possible in a country where we have 3 or 4 different parties that are active.
We have 18 political parties.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about the active parties. We have more than 18 political parties. But we know the PDP, APC, NNPP, and the others are the ones on the front burner. And then you are saying that in one whole state, one party won chairmanship election, one party won councillorship election. You know it's not free and fair. Does that mean that in that state there are no other parties existing in the state? That's to tell you that the governors are using their power to turn the election into theirs. That's why INEC needs to be independent even at the state level. That is it.
Now, one would wonder, why is the politics so much of a do or die affair? You know, look at what the political system has become of today. Do you think politics is now about service to humanity, or is just you know, a business of benefit? Because I listened to the chairman of IPAC, Alhaji Yusuf, describe politics as a lucrative business. Do you think politics is, people now still go into politics to serve humanity, to serve the people, or just for their own personal interests?
The politics in Nigeria, people engage in politics because it's their turn. There are some aspirants, I won't mention names. Someone said it's his turn, and then he's now elected into an office because it's his turn. It's not all about credibility. It's not all about how is this person going to perform. It's all about turn by turn. So yes, it's a lucrative business. Everybody wants to put in something, and then you're going to get something out. That is just it. It is a lucrative business, and it's a turn by turn thing. It's not all about credibility. It's not all about we know your capabilities to go into that office and go and perform. No, it's all about it's my turn, or it's all about it's time for me to go into office and do what I want to do, and then you know it's all rosy for everybody. So that is it. It's a turn by turn thing. It's not credibility. It's not about credibility anymore.
But you know, looking at it, why would why someone want to put everything or rather everything he has got into one particular thing? Is because of course there might be something juicy, or there is something juicy that is very, very attractive. The political system, the office, is too juicy, hereby you know being an attractive you know office for many, that they want to do anything to get into it, not even serving the people anymore. Do you think something should be done in the you know political offices, you know, maybe that would cause even if it's just less attraction?
Well, I spoke about electoral reforms in one of my interviews recently. INEC as an independent body needs a total overhaul and reform. And when I say that, the chairman of INEC, the resident commissioners of INEC, they should be thoroughly scrutinized before they are given the job. It's not all about you just go and get a random person. Some people that work with INEC are partisan. And INEC is supposed to be an independent body that is not supposed to be partisan. So if today I would be a worker in INEC and then I'm partisan to a specific political party, that is to tell you that I would do anything in favor of the political party. Okay. So once you want to give give appointments in INEC, first and foremost there has to be very good scrutiny by the judiciary and the legislature. Let me now go back to your question. What is going to be done? It's a country that already we all know that senators get 14 million or House of Reps gets 10 million, and you can hear these figures. These are not figures that can be changed, and it's not on INEC to douse down the pressure on those figures or the offices. Okay. It's back to the federal government. And I said it. In this country, we claim to have 3 arms of government, but it's just one that is working, the executive. Because the legislative arm of government and the judiciary are answerable to the executive. So once there is a problem, and once there is no equilibrium, the executive is doing everything. So at the end of the day, INEC has nothing to do as far as, you know, branding the offices with this money, these allowances and all that. So it boils back to the federal government. So they should do something about that, because that cannot be changed. the way senators and members of House of Reps were paid during the Buhari administration, that's not how they are paid now, and it continue increasing. The way they were paid during the Jonathan administration is not how they were paid in the Buhari's administration. So the government would keep on increasing their allowances to the detriment of the progress of our nation and its people.
Okay, but if we're going to blame INEC as a body alone, what happens to the judiciary? Because when you're not satisfied with a certain result or outcome of an election, you have the right to go challenge it in the courts. But at the end, what we see today, but going to court is just you know, we don't know. It's almost like being hopeless because it doesn't see the light of the day. So do you think the judiciary system too needs reform? That
is what I said. We have one arm of government in this country, just the executive. The executive have the power to meddle in the businesses of the judiciary and the legislative and the legislators. So now, if it's more like you are giving an individual a pot, and this pot contains, you know, gold in it, and I am someone who maybe I am hungry, or I am a selfish individual, and I am a barrister. I will collect it and overturn the process. It's easy. It happened. People won elections. They took this result. They challenged the results in the court of law, and the court of law ended up being monopolized. The court. So now, once this reform we're talking about, it shouldn't end in the electoral process. The reform should also go to the executive and the judiciary. They need total halt.
You say that the executive is, you know, it's the only arm of government.
That's the only arm of government.
So now, since the executive is the top and has the overall say, who is going to sanitize them?
That's what I'm talking about. Before you asked me this question, that was when I said I brought about the one arm of government, the one functional arm of government thing, because it's going to address a lot of things or questions you are going to ask me. Because once we just have the executive arm of government operating and meddling into the affairs of the other arms of government, there is nothing you can do. Actually, there is nothing you can do. As a citizen or as a concerned citizen, all you need to do is just fold your hands and watch. What can you do? Nothing. They have their laws. They've done the deals. One of my friends said there is nothing like a free lunch. If somebody tells you it's a free lunch, check under the table. There is nothing like free lunch.
So, but the question is, what are we going to sit like this? Because even a child can clearly see that our electoral system is, you know, needs a lot. It needs to be sanitized, not just from the electoral system down to the judiciary system, and now to the executive. But the question is, who is going to do that? Because, you know, there's a saying that we use 99% of our time to talk about the problem and just use 1% to talk about the solution. What is the possible solution to these problems?
Well,
because people have these days, people will even tell you. I came across few persons during the 2023 presidential election. They say your vote doesn't count, and because of what is happening, what is playing out. We saw what played out in Edo. We saw what played out. You just mentioned it. You say, well, how can one political party win all the councillorship, all the chairmanship in one state?
Yeah. Just
one political party. So, but the question is, how are we going to get out of this? Are we just going to sit back and fold our arms and keep watching like just looking?
Well, we won't sit down and watch. I, as an individual, have been trying my best to give in my quota as far as, you know, to enlighten people and citizens of the country, and to also broaden their horizon as far as, you know, politics and elections is concerned. So the first thing we are supposed to do is to have a complete and honest, you know, reform in the electoral process and the system, getting people that are unbiased, people that are not partisan, that are going to be, you know, thoroughly scrutinized by people like the legislature and the judiciary, so that we know that you're getting an INEC chairman that is not going to be partisan, or you're not getting an INEC chairman that you'll be suspecting something from. Now, secondly, the bimodal verification voter accreditation system, it should be, you know, something that is going to be very, very effective, unlike what happened in the 2023 election, where some electoral officers in some polling units are complaining, and they are saying they were trying to upload results, but network, some said the beavers got hot, some said the beavers crashed and all that. So that is another one. Like in the United States of America, I think they have three major modes of voting. There is an in-person voting, and there is this voting by mail, of which I really want to make a reference to, so that there are a lot of individuals that actually want to go out there and exercise their franchise and exercise their civic responsibility, but they don't have, you know, the strength to go out there and, you know, vote. In all parts of the world now, most parts, not all, most part of the world now, we have a lot of, you know, development and technology that have digitalized the voting system. So this is what Nigeria is supposed to do. Make sure, and you know, the issue of Togri, you know, where people are there to exercise their civic responsibility. Someone will be given drugs and guns to just come and disrupt an electoral process. And we should also look at the election security, because there are a lot of electoral officers that went to conduct this election. They didn't even come back. Some were killed, some were murdered, and that is it. So we have to update these things and make it look better before we now say, okay, let's now go and elect. With this type of electoral process in the country, that is why so many Nigerians feel very, very discouraged to step out and go and vote. Why? Because you feel even if you go to the polling unit and vote, your vote doesn't count. So that is it.
All right. So before we go, I would want to ask you, in all honesty, do you think the election that brought the current administration, that is that of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was a free and fair one? Just briefly before we go, because we are out of time.
Well, now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So anything I'm going to say, whether it was free, fair, or not, he's the President. And I choose to reserve my comments on this particular question because any Nigerian that is looking at me now knows what happened. So I reserve my comments on that.
Some don't know, I bet you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I can tell you.
Some don't know?
Well, that is why I feel like, or maybe if you know, you could tell us that, but I feel like some don't know. Better still, from your own, because some believe and some do not believe, but from your own perception, do you think it was a free and fair election?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Yes.
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much
for
being with me this evening in the studio. I really do appreciate your audience, and this is where we come to the end of the program. Thank you for staying with us until we come your way some other time. I am Messi Emelite. Keep watching Capital Television and have yourself a wonderful evening ahead. Bye.